How long does it take to develop calluses? What exactly are the calluses? The calluses are basically when your skin toughens up and becomes hard and firm, and it becomes no longer, a pain to press down on the frets of guitar in order to play scales, play melodies, to play chords, to play the guitar. Eventually that pain goes away, but at first it's gonna be a challenge. Do you practice once a week for 30 minutes? Do you practice every single day for 4 hours? Obviously, if you practice more often, then you're going to develop calluses a lot faster. I would not recommend practicing once a week for half an hour because you may not develop enough traction and you may get distracted and you may quit. And on the other hand, I probably wouldn't recommend playing, 4, 5, 8, 10 hours a day either because, you have to work, you have to go to school, you have to go do a bunch of other things that can compromise your life. A more practical reason that you probably don't want to practice that much is your hand, when you're first learning, is not going to have enough time to heal from all the stress that you're putting on it. So in the same sense that when you work out, you can overtrain and go to the gym too much, and then your body's going to not have enough time to recover from the stress that you're putting on it and the soreness that you're putting on it. The same principle applies here for your fretting hand and also your strumming hand to a different extent, because if you don't give your hands enough time to recover, then they're not going to be able to, and you're just going to have more stress and more pain. So maybe don't start out playing 4 hours a day. Maybe start playing maybe half an hour a day or 15 minutes a day, and then build up your musical interest and your dexterity. Are you practicing on a nylon string acoustic guitar? Are you practicing on an electric guitar? Are you practicing on a steel string acoustic guitar? I would say these are the three kind of extremes in the spectrum. If you're playing a nylon string guitar like the one on the right here, it's going to be very forgiving. It's going to have very soft strings that are, probably strung to, it feels like lesser tension. It depends on the gauge of the string that you're using. But generally the bottom are wound strings here, the bottom 3 strings, and the top 3 strings are just the exposed nylon. If you're playing on an electric, you have steel strings and the wound strings on the bottom, and it does have, a lot of pressure, but the neck actually tends to be a lot smaller than this classical guitar on my right. If you have a steel string acoustic, which is the third option, I don't have one in the studio at this time. I would say that's probably the hardest to learn on because it has, the thickest neck, just like this classical guitar does, and whereas an electric guitar would have a thin neck, and it has, the sharpest strings. The good news is if you learn on, a steel string acoustic guitar and a very large one, then you'll choose the most difficult guitar to learn on, and then when you switch to an electric or a classical guitar, it'll actually be easier on you. The fourth thing it depends on are these. If you have an electric guitar and you have string gauges which are really low, like 9s or even 8s, then you're going to have less of a physical tension that you need to apply to the strings to do your technique. Or if you have heavier strings like 10s, 11s, 12s, or even 13s, then you're going to have to apply more pressure to do your vibrato, your bends, to hold out chords, to play your scales, all of this stuff. On the acoustic side, for a classical guitar, they tend to be a lot softer than with a steel string guitar. And again, you have a range of gauges that you can use. In general, the heavier gauges are going to be more difficult to play and are going to require more physical strength than the lighter gauges. So there you have it. These are 5 things that you can consider when figuring out how long is it going to take you to develop your calluses. If you found this video useful, like, subscribe, share it, and I'll see you guys next time.